The Delhi Sultanate, Part 2, Chapter number 7, Medieval India. After the death of Balban in 1286, there was again confusion in Delhi for some time. Balban's chosen successor, Prince Muhammad, had died earlier in a battle with the Mongols. The second son, Bughra Khan, preferred to rule over Bengal and Bihar, although he was invited by the nobles at Delhi to assume the throne. Hence, a grandson of Balban was installed in Delhi, but he was too young and inexperienced to cope with the situation. There had been a good deal of resentment and opposition at the attempt of the Turkish nobles to monopolize high offices. Many non-Turks such as Khaljis had come to India at the time of Ghurid invasion. They had never received sufficient recognition in Delhi and had to move to Bengal and Bihar for an opportunity for advancement. They had also found employment as soldiers, many of them being posted in the northwest to meet the Mongol challenge. In course of time, many Indian Muslims had been admitted to the nobility. They also were dissatisfied at being denied high offices, as may be inferred from the manner in which Imamuddin Rehan was put up against Balban. Balban's own example of setting aside the sons of Nasiruddin Mahmud had demonstrated that a successful general could ascend the throne by ousting these scions, the scions of an established dynasty, provided he had sufficient support in the nobility and the army. The Khaljis, 1290 to 1320. For the reasons, a group of Khalji nobles led by Jalaluddin Khalji, who had been the warden of the marches in the northwest and had fought many successful engagements against the Mongols, overthrew the incompetent successors of Balban in 1290. The Khalji rebellion was welcomed by non-Turkish sections in the nobility. The Khaljis did not exclude the Turks from high offices, but the rise of the Khaljis to power ended the Turkish monopoly of high offices. Jalaluddin Khalji ruled only for a brief period of 6 years. He tried to mitigate some of the harsh aspects of Balban's rule. He was the first ruler of Delhi Sultanate to clearly put forward the view that the state should be based on willing support of the governed, and that since the large majority of the people in India were Hindus, the state of India could not be a truly Islamic state. He also tried to gain the goodwill of the nobility by a policy of tolerance and avoiding harsh punishments. However, many people, including his supporters, considered this to be a weak policy which was not suited to the times. The Delhi Sultanate faced numerous internal and external foes, and for this reason, there was a sense of insecurity. Jalaluddin's policy was reversed by Alauddin, who awarded drastic punishment to all those who dared to oppose him. Alauddin Khilji, 1296 to 1316, came to the throne by treacherously murdering his uncle and father-in-law Jalaluddin Khalji. As the governor of Awadh, Alauddin had accumulated a vast treasure by invading Deogir in the Deccan. Jalaluddin had gone to visit his nephew at Kara in the hope of getting hold of this treasure. He had left most of his army behind and had crossed the river Ganga with only a few followers so that his nephew might not take fright and run away. After murdering his uncle, Alauddin won over most of the nobles and soldiers to his side by a lavish use of gold. But for some time, Alauddin had to face series of rebellions, some by disgruntled nobles and some by Alauddin's own relations. To overawe his opponents, Alauddin Khilji adopted a method of utmost severity and ruthlessness. Most of the nobles who had defected to him by the lure of gold were either killed or dismissed and their properties confiscated. Severe punishments were given to rebellious members of his own family. He resorted to a wholesale massacre of Mongols, a couple of thousands of them being having settled down in Delhi after embracing Islam in the time of Jalaluddin. These new converts had rebelled, demanding a larger share in the loot in Gujarat. Alauddin gave harsh punishments even to the wives and children of these rebels, a practice which, according to the historian Barani, was a new one and was continued by his successors. Alauddin framed a series of regulations to prevent the nobles from conspiring against him. They were forbidden to hold banquets or festivities or to form marriage alliances without the permission of the Sultan. To discourage festive parties, he banned the use of wines and intoxicants. He also instituted a spy service to inform the Sultan of all that the nobles said and did. By these harsh methods, Alauddin Khilji cowed down upon nobles and made them completely subservient to the crown. No further rebellions took place during his lifetime, but in the long run, his methods proved harmful to the dynasty. The old nobility was destroyed, and the new nobility was taught to accept anyone who could ascend the throne of Delhi. This became apparent after Alauddin Khilji's death in 1316. His favorite Malik Kafur raised a minor son of Alauddin to the throne and imprisoned or blinded his other sons, without encountering any opposition from the nobles. Soon after this, Kafur, killed by the palace guards and a Hindu convert, Khusro, ascended the throne. Although the historians of the time accuse Khusro of being anti-Islamic and of committing all types of crimes, the fact is that Khusro was no worse than any of the preceding monarchs, nor was there any open resentment voiced against him by the Muslim nobles or by the population of Delhi. Even Nizamuddin Aulia, the famous Sufi saint of Delhi, acknowledged Khusro by accepting his gifts. This had a positive aspect too. It showed that the Muslims of Delhi and the neighboring areas were no longer swayed by racist considerations, and they were prepared to obey anyone, irrespective of his family or racial background. This helped in broadening the social base of nobility still further. However, in 1320, a group of officers led by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq raised the banner of revolt. They broke out into open rebellion, and in a hard fought battle outside the capital, Khusro was defeated and killed. Thank you everyone for tuning in. In the next part, we'll start with the Tughlaqs. All the best for exams. Do share and subscribe the channel for more videos like this. Take care and thank you everyone for listening.